Hi and welcome to another Vulcan tutorial video thing. I want to talk today about a use case that I think is pretty cool and how a number of the features of Vulcan come together to make my life easier. So, use case wise, a little bit of context. One of the things we do a lot with our clients is advise on next generation architectures that often involve the composition of lots of different explicit services, software as a service offerings that have great service levels that are focused on solving a specific problem that often exists within a bigger picture, a bigger flow, and composing those together, connecting APIs, building integration layers between them, and gradually breaking down monolithic, out-of-date architectures of the past and present for a lot of companies. And what that often involves is, in terms of a first step, is understanding what's available, what's out there, what services can be pieced together, are candidate services to be connected to solve a particular problem and an overall workflow as part of a re-architecture. So one of the things that we do is we maintain industry maps of relevant startups and more mature companies that solve particular problems. And Vulcan's great for that because it's a very visual tool to be able to see clusters and groupings and clouds of companies that together, all of those different clusters tend to make up a specific kind of industry solution. So let's take this future e-commerce example here, which I'm just starting to really build out, and you can see we've got a number of sort of placeholder categories. We can expect there to be multiple companies filling up each of these over time. But then if I sort of zoom in a little bit and take a look specifically at a couple here, we've got workforce tools, and a little cluster of companies around here, and inventory management, so inventory warehousing, looking after stock. And the positioning of these, can start fairly arbitrary, but gradually it kind of develops whereby certain items get bigger than others because they're more prominent. I tend to spend focus on those a little bit more than others, and over time I sort of massage and curate this content to help me figure out what's going on to determine the best fit of piecing together different solutions for a modern e-commerce architecture in this case. So, however, just collecting these company names and links to their sites and some general descriptive information is one thing. The ability to then collaborate and discuss by commenting, sharing discussions about about those that I might have tried, those that I haven't, other members of the team might have tried them and reviewed them. So there's the ability to collaborate, discuss, share opinions, sort of flexible, in a flexible and conversational manner. But then often what we are doing is taking a particular client use case and trying to piece together an appropriate shortlist of candidate services that we can review then deeply and do some diligence on for that particular client's needs. And they're all different, or often subtly different. So one way of doing that is to apply a more structured way of assessing the compatibility. And what is really great about Vulcan is that I can create, using Vulcan's component editor, a custom component for collecting, well, firstly for defining that criteria and then collecting that information. It can be star ratings, notes, could be a point system, votes, whatever you like. So in this case, I wanted to show you an example that I created for this particular use case. And here it is that you can see here. This is a review component, and this review component really is looking at some criteria which I've decided is appropriate to me. I'm looking at how complete the service is for the key criteria, the key requirements. I'm looking at the level of security. I'm looking at how robust their solutions are for integrations. I'm looking at how developer-focused that platform is. What's the API like? How well is it documented? What's the risk? How early is the company? How big is the company? How well funded is the company? I'm looking at their service levels and the quality of their support. So, if we decided to go with it, how good is their onboarding process? What are the SLAs like for, issues and response times with the service? These sorts of things. And then finally, what's the cost? How do I compare one service with another? As an indication of how expensive or reasonably priced I feel the service is. And so now I can do this, right? So I can just choose a new service. We're going to apply a review, and then all we're doing in this kind of funky little thing is saying I want you to store my ratings data against this object and then load that data next time I open this component. If I don't do this, the idea here is I could actually pass the ratings data directly into the component, but actually what I don't really want to do that. What I want the component to do is to look at the data that's stored and load it. So it's a little bit technical, but also quite straightforward. And so now I load this component and it gives me this full criteria. I can go ahead and make my assessment, add my notes about this, and as a result, next time I come back and open this up, I have my data stored. How have I been able to do that? Well, I have used Vulcan's component builder to build my own custom component. It's a very straightforward Vue.js component. It has some basic information, including defining the short code that I use in the editor. So in this case, it was review. And then this component, just like all single file Vue components, contains my markup in the template. Very simple script aspect where I'm basically just managing this ratings property, and I define the structure of the actual assessment criteria. So you could actually come in, and change, any of these criteria. You could extend this component to support multiple different criteria that you could select, and all it's doing is getting and fetching the ratings and presenting them. Very, very simple component, and obviously with the component builder, with the live coding, I can code and test this, and eventually I'll publish this for everyone. But that's it really. Very straightforward. If you know a little bit of Vue.js and a little bit of JavaScript, and you have a need for a specific component, well, Vulcan's great for being able to just come in and create a new component and publishing it to the editor that you can use for use cases such as this. So I hope you enjoyed that little tour. Any questions or anything like that? Vulcan, we're getting it ready for proper, public release, but already using it a lot myself for exercises such as this. So I'd love to hear from you. If you have any questions, please do get in touch. Take care.